All right, everybody. So we have Silent Mike with us today, a very popular YouTuber. A lot of you know. He is co-owner of Kaizen. So welcome, Mike.
How's it going, man?
It's going well. And today, Mike agreed that the charity would be Operation Smile, helping children with cleft lip and palate surgeries. So thanks for that, Mike.
Yeah. Thank you, dude. I love the idea of the charity per episode. It's super cool.
Yeah, thanks. So I wanted to get a little bit of your background because I've seen some other podcasts where you give advice, and we're going to get into that as well. But how did the Silent Mike story start?
Yeah, I don't know how far back you want to go, but basically played sports my whole life. Loved basketball, first love of my life. Played it pretty competitively for around 15 years or so in the junior college a little bit. But at an early-ish age, I found the gym. I'm only 5'9", and for those that don't know anything about basketball, it helps to be really tall. So I didn't have that gift. So around 7th or 8th grade, I think I was probably 5'8". My dad's only 5'6". My mom's probably 5'6", and so I knew it was going to be a bit of a struggle. But that's kind of when I set my goal out to play college ball and play professionally. And so super supportive parents. My dad got me a strength coach in 8th grade. So through that process, I kind of found the weight room and everything like that. And then, long story short, as soon as I dropped out of college, stopped playing basketball, all I really had was the gym, and started doing a little bit of research, how to get stronger, faster, bigger, whatever it might be. And a lot of those things kind of lead you to powerlifting. And probably around age 20, 21, I started finding websites like T Nation, Westside Barbell, stuff of that nature. Jim Wendler. Started reading everything I could, and kind of jumped into powerlifting from there. I joined a gym about 2 or 3 years later called Super Training Gym. It used to be in downtown Sacramento, and I guess the rest of whatever it is I do is kind of on the internet from there. We started a podcast called the Powercast that did very well. I did a little bit of YouTube there. I've made some good friends in kind of the YouTube space, so I've been on different channels, and then I've done my own YouTube channel for I think about 3 years now.
Yeah, awesome, dude. And you never had the bodybuilding bug, huh? You just went right to powerlifting.
I think in the beginning, I sifted through all that because I still wanted, after I dropped out of college basketball or dropped out of junior college, I still wanted to go back and play Division I, and even still play professionally, because I'd never had a career in mind. Like, everyone asked, like, oh, what'd you want to be in high school, or what'd you want to be in college? Like, literally up until up until like last year, I just realized, like, man, all I've ever wanted to do is play professional basketball. I never thought of a real career. And so all I Googled was, how to jump higher, how to be faster, how to get in shape for sports. So not a lot of, luckily enough, the internet was pretty good then. There were some bad articles, but lucky enough, it led me to some kind of squat, some kind of bench, some kind of deadlift, rather than just bicep curls. Since then, I've made a lot of friends in the bodybuilding world, and I've interviewed and lifted with a bunch of bodybuilders. So it's always interested me. Like, I've watched all the old Ronnie Coleman documentaries and all that stuff. And I know you talk to the 3DMJ guys. Those guys are my guys, some of the smartest dudes out there, some of the nicest guys out there. So I've watched and listened to a bunch of their stuff. So I like that world, but I don't think I have the physique for it or the mentality.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
it's hard when you kind of realize, and I'm not saying this is the case for you, but when you realize you don't necessarily have the frame, and you might have a lot of muscle, but just depending on how it all comes together, you can get smoked by somebody 30 pounds lighter than you. So
I don't even know what my frame is. I've never been that skinny. You don't even know what I'm about to look like. You
said you're 5'9". I'm guessing you can dunk, or could dunk pretty well.
Not well, but I grab rim and stuff pretty good. Never dunked in a game, but I dunked a handful of times. So the vertical is probably, pretty good. High 30s maybe.
Nice.
And I was pretty quick. I was probably 5'9", 180 or so at my best. Still rough for Division I basketball, but ended up in powerlifting.
Nice. I'm 6'1", and I still can't really dunk. I mean, I've dunked before, but not, really. It's been like, okay, let me have like the perfect setup and everything,
Yeah. That's kind of like me.
Yeah, but you're also 4 inches short. Like, I've got friends who are like 5'8" who can dunk perfectly, and I'm very jealous of the ups. I also noticed, I don't know if you noticed this when you did jump training, but when I was doing like Bulgarian, this was years ago, and squatting every day, no knee problems. I was always fortunate enough to never have any knee problems. And so I was like, all right, I want to get this dunking thing down. And within 3 weeks of jump training, my knees were killing me, and I just stopped. It was just too much.
Yeah, just basketball in general. I never got injured in basketball or powerlifting, really, like injury. But yeah, man, just achy knees. I was like 16 years old icing my knees, you know, like when you think back on that, you're like, God, that sounds so stupid. But yeah, they just get so achy, and it's just the pounding, just pounding and pounding and pounding.
Yeah, that impact. So how about like your best list up to date, both in competition and gym?
Yeah, so the best meet I've put together is 590-pound squat, I think a 360 bench, 363 is the kilo, and a 650-pound deadlift. And then just overall, I benched 405, messing around, and I pulled 705 in a deadlift only competition.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah,
nice. And then when was your last meet?
I did a poll only earlier this summer at Barber Brigade in LA, and it went pretty terrible. Prep's been a little weird. Prep was a little weird, and then I've had some back issues off and on a little bit for probably kind of my whole life. Even since the basketball days, it got tight, but it's gotten a little bit worse through my powerlifting career, obviously.
Yeah, sure.
And so about 2 weeks out from the meet, tweaked my back a little bit, and so I didn't know how things were going to go. Ended up pulling my opener pretty clean, 600, and then the rest went to shit. Missed 650 twice, so that's how it goes.
Okay.
How it goes.
Yeah, when I was in like 8th grade, my chiropractor, which tells you something if I had a chiropractor in 8th grade, he said I had one of the worst backs he's ever seen. I think I threw it out playing basketball. I went down to pick up a basketball, and I couldn't stand up, and it was just ever since then. Yeah, it wasn't the best. So going forward, I mean, do you have powerlifting goals in mind, like either near term or like long term?
Yeah, this last year has been really crazy. Business-wise and project-wise, I have a bunch of things in the works, and then I currently just bought a house, so I just moved, which is just a real pain in the butt for anyone who has never done it before, and I'd never done it before, and I didn't know what to expect, so I was just out of commission for about 3 weeks with papers and appointments and phone calls. And, powerlifting will come back into my life. I squat, bench, and dead every week, but I'm not following any strict programming or anything like that. I'm still trying to lose a little bit more weight. Drop down from 230 around 205. Kind of slow with some breaks in between. I want to get down to like 190, 195, just kind of live life down there. I think I'll be a little healthier and feel a little bit better. And then I'll get back into powerlifting, more strict and prep for a meet probably down the road. 30, although it's a little bit old for some sports, it's still super young for powerlifting. Some guys will hit their peak, late 30s, even 40 if you can stay healthy. So, lucky for me, I'm not crazy competitive in my head about powerlifting. So I'm not like stressing like, oh, my Wilks and oh, my this and that.
Right.
I like to lift weights, and I like to help people lift weights, and I like to live my life how I like to live my life. So, one day I'll get back into it, hunt down some numbers that are still in my head. But for now, I'm just catching a pump, doing some cardio, and having some fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good point though, because like you said, 30 is young for powerlifting and bodybuilding. Even really until close to 50, I would say you can do great in those sports. But have you had to make any changes with age to how you're training?
Not too much. My back issues. Probably the bigger deal of what I've had to switch around. I just can't handle the volume and squats I used to do.
Like your lower back?
Yeah, it's just lower back. I don't know if it's a disc or what. I've had some PTs and even chiros think maybe, but a lot of injuries too. And everyone yells at me to go to the doctor. Like, all right, man, here are the options. The doctor's going to tell me not to lift weights anymore. Like, stop picking up 500 pounds off the ground. He's going to give me a bunch of Advil. Or he's going to offer some kind of surgery if the disc is that bad. And neither of those options are going to work for me and my lifestyle. So, so I just kind of, age, not so much though. I think, when I was feeling good, I could handle as much volume as I wanted. If my nutrition and sleep were locked in, mostly just the back is like the only limiting factor.
Yeah. Have you had any like significant, I guess, acute injuries to the low back, or is it just kind of a chronic, slowing?
Yeah, I was like you. I had a chiro in 8th grade, I think, because I think I felt something wrong with my hip. I don't remember, it was so long ago. But I think I felt something in my hip, and my mom's like, oh, we got to get you a chiropractor. But I think it was my low back, and just as a kid, I kind of thought it was my hip, or they're obviously, the same deal. But so I think it was more chronic, long-term, maybe some hip issues, some imbalances, maybe with my glutes, something like that is what I've wrapped my head around. And then throughout powerlifting, I don't remember. It's never like, oh my God, I just threw my back out.
Yeah.
That happened once, but otherwise, yeah, it's just an unbearable pain and stiffness getting out of bed. And like, man, I can't pull today. Like, there's no way I can even bend over to the bar. So it's not like a 10 out of 10 go to emergency type pain, but it's like I can't unrack 500 pounds from the squat.
Right.
And so it's hard to progress when you're just squatting 315 all the time.
Yeah, it's tough with powerlifting because in bodybuilding it's like, oh, this one hurts, I'll do another exercise.
Yeah.
You're kind of stuck. And I mean, like you, anytime I'd get up to a deadlift PR, it was super consistent. I would get a PR, and then the next time I went in, I was super weak, or like I couldn't even bend over to tie my shoes. I don't know, it was a consistent problem. And to be honest, I never found like a perfect way around it. It kind of, to some degree, seems to go with the territory of lifting heavy all the time.
I think so too. And you know, there's a lot of factors that go into being great in all these sports. Like you said, when in bodybuilding, maybe you could put on muscle, but if you don't look symmetrical, you might get smoked by this other guy. And powerlifting, it's similar. Like, I'm fairly strong, and I think I have the potential to be even stronger, but the best guys in the world just don't get hurt. Whether that is some miracle rehab that I've yet to discover, or miracle recovery I've yet to discover, or just genetically, that guy's back can take more than my back, and so he can handle more volume than I can, and then he can train longer than I can, and that's how it goes. So it's more factors than just like, Project A is stronger than Project B, and that's how it goes.
Right.
There's a lot of factors, and for me, lucky, like I said, it's just not that serious. I like lifting weights, and I've kind of gone through a bodybuilding phase, like you just mentioned. It's been a lot of fun being like, all right, well, I can lunge. All right, let's grab the heaviest dumbbells I can and try to progress on some lunges, and not worry about my back squat for 6 months.
Right. So you ever think you'll pull a Mark Bell and do like a full crossover?
I announced it a long time ago that I was going to do it in my 30s. And
Really?
I already talked to Berto. So me and Berto have a long-term plan that once I get down to 190, I'm going to try to maintain. Something I've never done well as an athlete is maintain my body weight. I'm always kind of shifting.
Yeah.
So I want to get down to like 190 on my own and kind of maintain there. And then I'll talk to Berto, see what the plan is, see if I got a chance.
Nice. Yeah, it can kind of suck to maintain because you just don't feel like you're going anywhere,
Right.
Even if ultimately, like I had a period, because after 15 years, it's obviously kind of hard to progress that much. So I was like, all right, well, let me do a mega bulk, and I bulked like 2 years. I mean, not like got fat, but I slowly went up over 2 years, held it, cut back down. I maybe gained like a pound from all of that, but it just felt better than being the same weight for 3 years,
100%. Yeah, your lifts are going up. You can like focus in more too. Like, if you're getting a lot of calories in, you feel like invincible in the gym. Like, that's the strongest I've ever been. And then when you're dieting, you can just like, you can focus on other things. Like, all right, I got to hit my macros. I got to do whatever. I got to get this cardio, and you can focus on the amount of work. When you're maintaining, there's no like driving force behind you.
Right. And I was going to say, as far as, well, you said you were going to work with Berto, right?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Omar is working with Eric Helms right now.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet, you and Omar?
A lot of my friends kind of in the industry all came. I worked for Slingshot and Super Training for 5 years or so. The company had been around maybe about 8 months, and then I dropped out of college. I was coaching high school basketball and doing some personal training on the side, and I just randomly text Mark and said, hey, man, you got a job for me. I know you got this company. And he had no employees. And he ended up hiring, he had zero. It was just him and his wife. And he ended up hiring me. I literally worked out of his bedroom. I drove to his house multiple times a week. I literally sat next to his bed and fulfilled orders all day. And then eventually things evolved from there, where I was helping with products and helping with marketing. And the marketing aspect is kind of where I began to network. Again, I never went to school for anything. I took some general ed stuff. Don't know shit about business. I don't know shit about marketing. But what I knew is I enjoyed watching people like Bart Kwan and Omar Isuf on YouTube, and so did thousands of other people. They like to lift weights. Maybe they'd like to use our products. So I began just cold emailing everybody I could that I thought was really cool and I thought was doing good things for the industry and good things in the weight room and spreading good information. That's how I met everybody. That's how I met Alberto. That's how I met Omar. That's how I met Bart. And then Berto and them, actually Bart and Omar too. Eventually, through the networking through Slingshot, we got them onto our podcast. And you start to really get to know somebody through a podcast, like you probably understanding now, doing 20 of them. And so you can build a relationship, and that's kind of where it all started.
Well, I think that's awesome though, because I think when we see people with 100,000 or 1 million followers and you see them as this kind of like celebrity, and you don't necessarily realize the 5 years or whatever amount of time that they were doing something that was like not glamorous, and they were just working in somebody's bedroom, or, how many years was Mark Bell doing his thing before he was really known like he is today? I mean, decades, right?
Powerlifting's still just a very small world. But it wasn't very cool for a long time.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the biggest changes you've seen in the powerlifting community are, let's say, last 5-10 years?
Yeah, I think, and I might be biased, but I think it's YouTube and Instagram. I think we'd all be lying to say if that wasn't the driving factor in the growth. And the growth is still stupid. I don't know if you know Chad Wesley Smith, but I think Chad Wesley Smith put a stat out that curling, like on ice, Olympic curling, the U.S. has 25,000 members, and the USAPL has 15,000 members.
Really?
So it's cool, and as awesome as we thought we are, we're still not very cool, and we're still very small.
Wow.
And that's not to say more people don't powerlift that aren't registered to compete. But still, it's still so small. But I think YouTube, I think guys like Omar, I think, hopefully I played a little bit of part. I think Mark played a part, Bark, people of that nature. I think the 3DMJ guys have been great for bodybuilding and powerlifting. A lot of great girls out there, the Homegirl Meg Squats, Leanna Carr, a bunch of different people have really promoted the sport. And social media has allowed us to share those journeys. And then somehow people related, or I think they're ex-athletes, probably like you and I, that are just trying to find a little bit of competitiveness or a way to get a little bit healthier. And then I think, lifting weights, it is probably one of the best mental and physical things you can do for your health, long term.
Sure.
So, I'm excited more about that part of it than even like the powerlifting as a sport aspect, but hopefully YouTube and things stay around to allow us to do that. And we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. That is crazy. I had not heard that before, but that's ridiculous. I guess that just shows how much we're in our little bubbles, because to me, everybody knows about powerlifting and bodybuilding. It's just like, I had, you watch Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
So, I've watched him a lot lately, and I was talking to a few of my assistants, and none of them knew who Joe Rogan was. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I see an episode of him like every day. It was just like, you just forget that like not everybody knows MMA and bodybuilding and powerlifting.
Yeah, and Rogan's wild too. That's like at least a million YouTube videos an episode. He puts out an episode a day almost, let alone the audio. I tried to ask someone, they only knew him from Fear Factor. I was like, okay, he's a little bit past Fear Factor. They're like, oh, the guy from Fear Factor. Like, that guy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So as far as the YouTube, I guess YouTube fitness and Instagram fitness, how do you think that's changed in the last 5-10 years? Because you mentioned T Nation. That's I think probably 2006 through 8 is when I was on T Nation a lot. And obviously things are dramatically different. So what have you seen?
Yeah, I mean, I remember getting Instagram. I was working at a Fitness 19, which is a commercial gym, tiny little commercial gym, probably in 2009 or 10. And I was running Wendler's 531 or whatever by myself. And one of the kids that worked for me, or he didn't work for me, worked with me, my buddy Matt, he literally just came up and said, hey, man, you should check out this social media. It's called Instagram. I was like, this looks stupid, bro. Like, I'm not a photographer. What am I going to put on this thing? But he made me get one. And so then I got one. Yeah, I think it was probably 2010 or 11. And in the beginning, it was cool, but it didn't seem like a fitness app. And even though we are in our bubble, I do think Instagram really does cater to fitness people.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah, it's the aesthetics, obviously. Like, who doesn't want to see like jacked guys and good-looking girls when they're scrolling around, wasting time? Where on Facebook, you're just seeing people's shitty political views. You don't get to see beautiful people. And in the beginning, I think it's kind of similar now. Now it's like a thing. I heard a kid the other day. He was talking to me at Bart. It wasn't the other day. It was a couple of months ago. But he talked about like a career path being like a social or a fitness influencer. And me and Bart's heads just exploded. I was like, I didn't even know that was a job. Like I don't even know. I just like laughed on the inside. I think it's cool. I think it's cool. People want to. But basically, like for me, it became a way to be. I was a trainer. I've been a trainer for now 10 years, and now I could train thousands of people rather than one person an hour.
Right.
So that's where it started for me, and I do think some people have elevated that even. People are putting out programs left and right and workouts left and right, which is cool. And And I don't know where it's going from here. You know, it seems to go in ebbs and flows of softcore pornography, to some training knowledge. And I'm just like, stuck in my own world. You know, I don't really know. I'm kind of like you. I follow friends and I follow powerlifters. So I don't even know what's going on out there on Instagram anymore. It's a weird, wild, wild west.
Yeah, it is bizarre, and I definitely agree what you said about it being like kind of caters to the fitness world. Because I know people who even say, like, girls who say like, "Oh, that looks gross," like a bodybuilding guy, but they're still following like 20 bodybuilders. And it's like, so people seem to love it.
And people that don't lift. I have some friends that work out very casually, you know, not as deep into it as us. They don't know who Omar or Alberto Nunez are, but they'll follow, I don't know, so and so bikini girls just because motivation or whatever.
Yeah, motivation. Or I was talking, I don't remember who else I said this to, but it was almost like, I don't know, the intellectual side of me was just kind of like cringing because I saw somebody who had like some really solid videos, like hundreds of like, you know, scientific lifting videos, and they had like 1,000 subscribers. And then this girl who literally just posted pictures of her like eating and everything had like 500,000. And I was like, how is this a thing? But,
it's hard. It's hard. And that's why I try to like put a little bit of content everywhere. I'm not always coaching in the content I do, you know, like Instagram, I like to have fun. I like to try to show some personality or just be funny or whatever. Podcasts, I like to be, a little bit more, variety. Obviously YouTube, I've done more instructionals than I'd like to admit, throughout the years. I don't know if I want people watching me eat all the time. I'd like to give them some kind of view. But there's different platforms for different things, different strokes for different folks.
Sure. Yeah. So as far as your actual training goes, do you tend to, because I mean, you mentioned West Side at one point, some of the things, do you tend to stick to more of a specificity principles now or more variation through different exercises?
Yeah, I think when we're talking like powerlifting itself, and I'm talking about coaching or me prepping for a meet, it was pretty early on I realized that, you know, too much of a conjugate method following Westside Barbell, which super training gym when I joined it, was a geared powerlifting gym. Geared powerlifting was really the only kind of powerlifting in the world. So maybe 2012, 13. Sure, some people squat and deadlift raw, but they didn't really compete. And so I was at super training. Don't quote me, but I was probably there for 2 or 3 years, and there was only 2 of us that lifted raw. Everybody else was multiply gear, and everybody else.
You never did.
No, I did messing around, but never in a competition. And that's how I found Wendler's, probably back in T-Nation days, like you said, 2008, 2009, and stuff like that. That was not even really a powerlifting program, just kind of a general strength program. But since you didn't have gear on, that's kind of all you went to do. And so I did a pretty strict-ish Westside Barbell method because that's where Mark, you know, that was his first mentor, and that's what the whole gym did. And I realized flaws pretty early, at least for me. And I know, you know, the comments on this or wherever, well, what about so-and-so? He box squats and he squatted 900 pounds. That guy's a beast. I'm not a beast. All right. If that's what you want to break it down to, he is and I'm not. But, you know, I think every sport you do, every task you do in life, needs some kind of specificity. If you and I's goal is to write a book, we probably shouldn't be here podcasting. We should probably be in person writing a book, right? Like it's just common sense to me. And so, I guess some kind of daily undulating scheme. Typically, I'll use more variations in the off season than when prepping for a meet. I like to do 8 to maybe 16 week preps for a powerlifting meet, and we get real specific. Maybe 1 variation a week, depending on the lift and the lifter, but maybe not even. I use variations kind of like a bodybuilder, like you said, when it addresses an injury or some kind of functional problem, or in the off season to give the body and mind a break from numbers and PRs. So, you know, I have this kid, Justin Calkin. He's an absolute stud. I coach him, and he's having a bunch of elbow tendonitis. Okay, so now we're going to high bar squat a little bit more than we low bar squat to take some relief off that arm, maybe a safety squat bar. And it's not because I think the safety squat bar is a miraculous tool that will fix him and make him squat 900 pounds. But I think it's a good way to get some overload maybe in his back that he wouldn't get from a regular squat, to take some pressure off his elbow, and to have him not thinking about his last PR competition wise, that he can now throw on a weird bar. It feels heavy and we get some stimulus on.
Gotcha. Are there different, of the 3 main lifts, are there ones that you find are more amenable to accessory lifts?
Yeah. Maybe, I think you can get your bench moving, doing a bunch of cool things, deadlift as well, and all of them really. I think I use a lot of tempo stuff. I use a lot of pause stuff. I'll use accommodating resistance. I use plenty of bands and chains in the off season. Again, not because I think bands and chains are automatically going to make this kid squat 100 more pounds or go dunk a basketball. Although I think they can help a strength curve and maybe are more applicable to someone trying to dunk a basketball than a squat. But for him to take his mind off of his last PRs and to add some different stimulus, we can do a 100-pound of chain PR, get him a little excited about training, or a triple PR, and maybe take some relief off his back in the hole or something like that. But I think there's good variations for all three. I think people definitely overdo them. Generally speaking, people are doing, boards were literally invented on the bench press because of bench shirts. And not to say that they don't have any application in raw training. They can overload the top a little bit, maybe get some tricep work in, but the amount of use I see is probably a little bit of overkill. And especially majority of stuff I think is a little bit of overkill when it comes to how advanced the lifters are using all these variations. I think if you haven't been strictly powerlifting for 2, maybe even 3 years, you probably don't have to do all this, pause, deadlift, reverse band, blah, 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 blah. But once you start to hit some plateaus, or you've been lifting for a really long time, the mental and physical break probably help you out a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm always happy to see people taking it seriously, like taking lifting seriously. But I do have a pretty distinct memory of a guy who would always come in with wraps and sleeves, everything, the whole works, and a belt to bench about 185.
Yeah.
And we were just like, why? But I don't know, maybe it got him excited to do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty split on that too. The inside, like, dickhead competitive Mike is like, bro, you're a loser, but then the advanced coaching experienced Mike is like, look, bro, if that allows him to get in the gym and bench 3 times a week, feel good about himself, and get excited about training, mummy up, wrap yourself in head. What do I care?
Right. What do you use, or do you use anything as far as accessories like that? Wraps, sleeves, even like straps in training, anything like that?
Yeah, I've used it all. Right now I'm trying to be as minimal as I can. One, because I'm riding a bike to the gym, and so I don't want to lug around stuff. 2, because I'm kind of rebuilding my squat and deadlift because I don't want to mess up my back. Just being an idiot trying to pull 600 again. So I'm going beltless on everything just to hold myself back again. But generally speaking, all of it really. It all depends on the goals. If you're a strict power lifter, I like to kind of stick to those rules. Some of the guys, hook grips, a lot of my grip, which is neither here nor there for me, but we'll use straps with those guys. Maybe we'll do a top single or top triple hook grip, get some training in, and then we'll use straps on the down sets. Knee sleeves, just because they're legal in competition, so kind of why not? And then same with straps. If you're benching multiple times a week, heavy loads, might as well try to protect yourself rather than not. I think they can all be overdone. Off season, I think it's a great time to kind of go beltless. And again, not because you're going to work your abs extra special, but to kind of limit the load you're using, still get some stimulus in, and kind of open up your mindset a little bit. But there's tons of gimmicks floating around, and generally not a fan. And if it's strict bodybuilding, I kind of do the same thing. All right, does this, are we benching with a amount of frequency that we need these wrist wraps? Okay, let's use some wrist wraps. But otherwise, try to keep it kind of as specific as we can.
Cool. You mentioned that the boards are pretty much made for the geared benching. But as far as overloading the top, you get something similar with a slingshot, which I know you're a fan of. So could you explain why that would be more applicable than, say, like a 3-board bench? Yeah,
to be honest, I don't use either a ton in my own training, and only here and there with my guys. But if I were going to, and we really wanted to overload the top, one thing, not to rant, but weak point training is a little bit overdone. Weak point training was a thing in geared lifting also because you actually had weak points where the shirt is literally helping you more on the bottom, right? For those that don't know, you're literally putting a piece of denim across your chest that won't stretch, and then the external load is stretching that denim, so the denim is going to snap back into place. So overloading the top in that is literally the strength curve is different than a raw lifter. The amount of weight you're lifting at the top of a bench shirt is a lot more than the amount of weight you're pressing at the very bottom.
Right.
Same with the squat suit. It's stretching and you're literally getting sprung out of the hole. So then you have to use more force near the top of the lockout, right? Now as a raw lifter, those strength curves and weak points change a lot more. But why I say weak points aren't a thing with raw lifting is once you hit 101% of your one rep max, you go 101% of what you're able to lift, you're going to miss a weight. You're going to miss, right? So, all right, all this, I spend 6 months fixing my weak point of the lockout on my bench, and then all of a sudden now I'm going to miss off my chest at 101%. Like we're always going to miss a weight where we're going to, and it's just going to move. And if you really want to move it, that's fine. If you want to be less embarrassed and miss at the top than you do off your chest, unless there's a glaring weakness, and which is the case. But for 95% of lifters out there, I don't think there is. The reason I would choose a slingshot, rant over, the reason I would choose a slingshot over a board is just that you can take the weight in a full range of motion. So you're getting a similar effect where, you're kind of handling more load in a way at the top of the lift or the top quarter or half of a lift, but we're at least taking our muscles and the barbell through a full range of motion, which again, being as specific as you can, we want to go as full range of motion as we can, probably more so than not.
Sure. And so I like to kind of end on an actionable step here. So if people are listening to this and they're 2 or 3 years in, they want to get into powerlifting. They're probably intimidated by seeing how everybody on YouTube is deadlifting at least 500-600 now. What is their next step from your perspective?
Yeah, I think, one of the best options always is to get a coach. And it's just as hard online as it is in person to find a quality coach. There's a lot of guys that took a weekend certificate or competed in one powerlifting meet or one bodybuilding show and that are coaches now. But finding a coach is always going to be the most helpful. If you can get eyes on you that can help you with your technique and your form, that makes sure you're safe and efficient in your lifts, and then two, someone to program something properly for you, you're always going to progress the fastest and safest that way. And number two, it's just about doing. It's about kind of sticking your ego at the door. Don't worry about other people's egos. Don't worry about what other people are lifting. That's one of the most dreaded questions I get all the time is, Mike, I'm whatever age, I'm 23, I'm 200 pounds and I bench 315. Is that good? I don't care. I don't care if it's good. Your mom doesn't care if it's good. The internet doesn't care if it's good. What's good is if you're progressing, if you're learning something through the habit of lifting weights all the time, mentally, hopefully, that can trickle down into your lifestyle. And two, literally, it's just if you're progressing. If you're benching 315 now and you're benching 315 5 years from now and there's no change, it's probably not so good. If you bench 315 now and you're benching 325 6 months from now, that's what I'm talking about. We're trying to progress. So focus in on yourself. Try to get a little bit better every single day. And then it kind of soak up the community. Similar answer I give to people that say, oh, I'm competing for the first time. What's your advice? Soak up the community. There's a lot of really, really cool people out there, some really, really smart people out there, and really nice people. Some of my best friends I've learned and met through powerlifting. So have fun with it. Don't take it too serious. Don't take yourself too serious. Enjoy the ride.
Great advice. So where can people find you? More of your information.
Yeah, Silent Mike, most places, YouTube, Silent Michael 2K is on Instagram, Mama's Boys Podcast on iTunes, and everywhere else you want to go is my podcast with Omar Isuf. And then I would say a city near you because I'm normally traveling a lot, but we're going to try not to travel. I'm going to try to hibernate this winter and just chill out. But maybe one day, 2019, I'll be in a city near you, maybe.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for talking with us.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to my talk with Mike Farr. He's a really cool guy, really down to earth with a lot of practical knowledge. If you liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe for more like this. And if you like the charity we donated to today, please go ahead and make your own donation as well.